Hey everyone, welcome or welcome back to the Missy Money channel. I'm Missy, I'm a mom of 3 and the owner of Missy Money, a small business that specializes in minimalist and aesthetic cash stuffing essentials to help inspire and motivate you on your personal finance journey. Today I'm going to be unstuffing and reconciling my spent envelope, which is how I make credit and debit card purchases within the cash stuffing system. So if you're interested in learning more, stay tuned. All right, guys, so I'm going to do my unstuffing and reconciliation for the month of December for my credit card and debit card purchases within the cash stuffing system. So I am at the end of my last pay period of December, so it's time for me to do my week 4 reconciliation, and then I will go ahead and count it all up and see how much I need to deposit into the bank to pay off my credit card bill and reestablish my buffer for my debit card. Now, for those of you that are new to the cash stuffing system and aren't quite sure how this all works, I'll just take a moment to explain my personal system and how I use it within the overall cash stuffing budget method. So even though I do cash stuff my variable expenses and sinking funds, I by no means use cash for every single transaction. I'm often using my credit card or debit card for purchases, either because they're online purchases and that's the only payment method available, or frankly, just for convenience. And so over the course of the month, I am making lots of card transactions. Now, because I do follow a cash budgeting method and I believe in the power of leveraging cash as a visual tool to understand how much money you have going in and going out of your budget, I do use the spent envelope method. Now, the Missy Money spent envelope method is probably a little bit different than what you've seen in other cash stuffing methods if you are familiar with cash stuffing. I actually will go in and I will reconcile my card transactions every single week. And so in this video, I'm going to jump back and you're going to see me do that for week 1, week 2, week 3, and then the end of week 4, which I'll do at the end of this video, and I'll film that right now. But the reason I do this reconciliation and unstuffing at the end of every week is because I personally find that if I wait an entire month to do that, I'm not as in tune with how much money I've got in my sinking fund envelopes. And so it's easier for me to overspend a category. And so by reconciling the card transactions that I am making every single week, I can make sure that I'm staying on top of how much money I have in those envelopes and I'm not unintentionally overspending a category that I then have to solve for at the end of the month. And so it doesn't take me a ton of time. I just go ahead and do that unstuffing and reconciliation right before I am cash stuffing my next paycheck. So it's all kind of part of the same process. And I find it much easier to do that way. So you'll see how this all plays out. I'm going to go ahead right now and jump back to week 1, and you will see my unstuffing from the end of my first pay period. All right, guys, this is my first unstuffing for December, and it is going to be a doozy because this has all of my Black Friday, Cyber Monday, that entire weekend's worth of transactions. And I always, during that weekend, spend a majority of my Christmas money that I've saved up over the years. So there are quite a few transactions to go through for the past week. So we're going to go ahead and get started. I'm actually going to keep the cash with my spent envelope in my wallet and just put this off to the side, and then we will start unstuffing. So I am going to save all of my Christmas transactions until the end to show you how I reconcile when I make card purchases for an envelope that has placeholder bills in it. So I'm going to save Christmas until the end because I think we're going to need the flexibility from some of the other envelopes that I unstuff. So we will go ahead and start. It looks like I've got 1 short-term sinking fund and I do have a couple kids. Okay, we're going to start with my short-term sinking fund binder here, and we need to pull from the miscellaneous envelope. So we'll flip back here. I thought it was at the very end. Yep. All right, miscellaneous, I had a $140 transaction. So I think I've got that exactly. So 50, 70, 90, 110, 130, 140. So I'll go ahead and I'll put that right here for now. So that will check that one off. All right, and I think that is it from this binder. Next, I know I've got several transactions from my kids binder here, so let's go through and see what we've got there. So I've got teachers. I think I've got a couple teachers. Yes, I've got 2 teachers, so let's go ahead and do those, because we did start buying. I've got a couple more things I need for the teacher gifts, but I did get a lot of them during Black Friday. So teachers, I need 150 and then 85. So 150, that's good for the first one, and then 85. Let's see if we can do it exactly. So 50, 60, 70, 85. Perfect. Okay. So that will cover both of those transactions. And then I think I had a couple other kids. Yes. Okay. Kids activities. And then kids activities down there too. Okay. So 2 kids activities. Here we go. The first one was for $15. Got enough 5s to do that. And then the second was for $35. I do not have enough to do that one. Make sure I did. All right, so here's what we're gonna do. We are going to pull, I'm gonna move this to the side, move this up here. So I covered the 15. I'm just gonna mark that off before I forget, but I need to still cover this $35 activity. So we'll pop all this together. So the way that I'm going to do that is I'm going to use my spent envelope to make change for myself. So I'm going to take $40 from my envelope, and then I'm going to take 5 back and put it back with my kids' activities. That way I'm accounting for the $35 transaction, but I did it in a way where I don't have to round up even more. So that way I can check that kids' activities off the list. And I think that means that every single other transaction is going to be a Christmas transaction, which we are going to do all together. Okay. So I can move this binder out. All right, guys, so here's what we're going to do for all of my Christmas transactions. And this is how I personally typically deal with envelopes where I've got a placeholder that I need to move to account for card transactions that I have made. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and add all of these Christmas transaction totals up that I will need to pull from my Christmas envelope. So give me 1 second to do that. All right, guys, my total for Christmas that I need to pull out of my Christmas envelope is $1,340, which is a doozy, but this is why we save for Christmas all year long. So, so here's what I am going to do. I have 2 placeholders that represent $1,500 that is currently sitting in the bank. When I reconcile card transactions, I treat these exactly like cash. I need to move these over to my spent envelope to represent that I have spent this money, but this is more than what I really need to move over because my total for all these transactions is $1,340. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to bring my spent envelope back and I'm going to move both of these placeholders over and put them in the back of my pile. And then I need $160 back from this pile to put back into my Christmas envelope. So, and that it's 160 because that's just the difference between the placeholders that I am moving and my actual amount that I need to move over for all of these transactions, which is $1,340. So it's just the difference. So I'm going to go through and see if I can get, I have 100 in here, a 50. Let's see if I can find a 10. Perfect. Okay. So $160 is going to go back into my Christmas envelope. So that takes care of all those transactions. Now, the reason I personally like doing it that way and treating the placeholder bills as cash is because that money is already sitting in the bank, and all of this money at the end of the month is going to go back to the bank anyway. So instead of going to the bank, switching these out for cash, and then doing that transaction, you can use these symbolically as cash because it's already sitting in the bank, and that's where all of this money is going to head anyway. So that's why I really like the placeholder bills and using the placeholder bills consistently, even through this spent envelope process, because it really simplifies the entire process from using cards and using placeholder bills. So now that $1,500 that is allocated to Christmas already sitting in my bank account is essentially spent. So that is what I needed to do to reconcile the rest of these Christmas transactions. I'm going to move this back over, and then I'm going to check all of these off, which is awesome. So I'll again explain that at the end of the video once I am reconciling the total and putting that in the bank, how that works, just so you can see the kind of back end of it as well. But that is it for my Christmas envelope, and that takes care of all of the different transactions that I had during this first pay period. So that is awesome, and that is it for this unstuffing. All right, guys, time for week 2 unstuffing. So let's see what we've got here. A lot of transactions again, because I was doing some more Christmas shopping, and then also had quite a few just annual things or like period things come due. So like insurance, we have a premium due for the recent period, and then our annual memberships for zoo and aquarium. So I'm going to go ahead and set this aside. All right. Starting with the teacher binder. And this was just the balance of the things that we needed to put our teacher gifts together. So 120, which I can grab exactly, but I actually think I'm going to do a 100 and then 4 5s. So I'll have that there. And that was pretty darn close to exact. So that was great. Kids activities is in the kids binder, so we will grab that one. And that was 45, it looks like. So 20, 2 20s and a 5 will work. Christmas is in my long-term sinking funds, long-term memberships, I think is in short term. Yeah, memberships is in short term. And then another kids activities. Whoops. So I'll come back here. And this kids activities was also 45, but I can't do that. So I'm just going to really quickly put my wallet back over, and I am going to add a 50, but then take back a 5 to complete that transaction. So move that back to the side. Check that one off, and then all right, and that is it for the kids binder. All right, next let's go ahead and tackle my long-term sinking funds. Oh, I missed kindness. That was in my short-term binder, but we will just go ahead and do long-term. Okay, Christmas, I need, with these two total, and that's it, I need 125 total. So I've got 120, and I don't have a 5, so I'm going to need to do the same thing and make change for myself here. Okay, we'll put this over here, and we'll grab my binder here. Okay, so for Christmas, I need 125. I've got 130, so I will put that in there and then pull back a 5. And then I can mark both of those off here. Oops. Lost my cap. All right, so that takes care of those two, and I can put the rest of this back. And I am really close to done with Christmas, so should be about perfect on that one. Okay, what else is in this one? Insurance. I know I just need to empty this. It was actually a little less than $620, but I looked to see what I had and I said I was just going to empty it. I'm also going to take the placeholder because this represents money that's already in the bank. So I'm just going to take all of that and pop it over. And then I'll talk through how I do reconciliations with placeholder bills at the end of this total video, once I reconcile at the end of the month. Okay, and my other ones are in my short-term sinking fund, so let me pop that binder over. And we will do these last few here. Okay, starting with kindness projects. This I know I'm going to not have everything that I need, so I am anticipating that. So I need $200 for kindness projects. Let's see what I've got. I've got 20, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. So 130. So let's go back here into miscellaneous and see what we've got. So I've got 20, 40, 60, 80. So I'm going to put that with this pile, take 2 5s back, and put it back into miscellaneous, and then let's just give this a double count and make sure that it matches the 200. So 20, 40, 60, 80, 100, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 85, 90, 95, 200. All right. That takes care of that one. And then memberships, I have a 240 and a 145. It is in my kids binder. I thought it was. Hold on, guys. This is why I need a category reset, because I need to change around how I'm organizing some of these things. I've got some like duplicative categories. There we go. And then some I just want to frankly merge. All right, so memberships. So first I need 240. So 20, 40, 6, hello. Guys, my brain. 50, 100, 50, 200. 10, 20, 30, 40. All right, that's 240 for the first one. And then I need a 145. 51, 10, 20, 30, 35, 40, 45. Shoo. Perfect. And then I've got 15 left, so I will need to start filling that one again. I might need to increase that one too. All right, so put all of that over into my spent pile. We can mark those two off. All right. So that made that pile much bigger. And I will go ahead and pop all of this back. This is going to be tight this month with all of the Christmas transactions. We might need to double up, but we will do the best we can. All right, there we go. All right, guys, week 3 unstuffing. So let's go ahead and jump in here and see what credit card transactions we need to reconcile. I'm going to go ahead, actually keep the cash over here. I'm going to go ahead and move this to the side, and then we will see which card transactions we need to reconcile. Okay, so it looks like I have got a couple from the kids binder and then one from Christmas. So I'm going to start with my long-term sinking funds and just pull that Christmas transaction out here. And then we will do the kids. So I have got $135 coming from Christmas. So let me see if I've got 50, 70, 90, 110, 130. Let's see if we've got a 5. Perfect. 135. So I was able to do that one exactly. And the Christmas envelope here is getting pretty thin, but that's to be expected with it being right before Christmas. So let me find my pen. Perfect. And then I will go ahead and mark that one off. And we can put this one back. All right, and then just a few transactions from the kids binder. So the first one is kids activities, and I need $115 from here. So we've got 100, and I don't have 115, so I'm gonna go ahead and pull a 20. Let me move this to the side and show you how this works. So put that right up here, and so I need to move my wallet and my spent dollars over here. So I do not have $115, but I do have 120. So I'm gonna go ahead and put the 120 over here into my spent pile, and then I'm gonna pull a 5 back from that spent pile. So that is how I reconcile that. So I'll be able to put that back in here, and then put that back into kids activities. And actually, shoot, you know what? There was another kids activities. I need another 40 from kids activities, and I think I do not have that. So I just did this more complicated way, but let me go back over here. I'm gonna move the 50 over here, and now I need to find myself a $10. Here we go. So move a $10 back. All right, now we can mark off both kids activity transactions here. So there is that. And then my last one for this week is kids clothing. So kids clothing, I need $45. 2 20s here, and then 5. Perfect. The rest of that can go back into kids clothing. All right. And then that is it. And because I am out of room here in my tracker, which I expected just it being the month of Christmas, I'm gonna go ahead and add a new tracker, but I'm gonna keep my first tracker in the spent envelope because I will need it to reference when I do reconciliation at the end of this month. So I've got one more week to reconcile, and then we will be all set for closing out all of my card transactions from December. All right, guys, we're ready for week 4 unstuffing. So this is the last unstuffing of the month. And so after this unstuffing, we will go ahead and do a total count and make sure that I have everything reconciled and that I can pay off my credit card, which is going to be a big one this month because this has lots of big purchases on it. So the first thing I'm going to do is go ahead and see which transactions we still need to reconcile for this month. I think that these were all checked off. Yep, those were all checked off last week. So I'm just going to go ahead and take my tracker here, and then I'm going to move this to the side so I have room for the binders I need to pull out for my sinking funds. So let's see what we've got here. We've got shopping, self-care, family fun, shopping, shop small, and then our clothing. So all of these are actually in my short-term sinking funds binder. So let me pull that one out, and we will be able to knock these all out within this binder. Okay, so the first, I think there were a couple shopping. So the first envelope I need to take out of is shopping. I've got 2 transactions totaling $85. So let's see if we've got that exact. That's 80, 85. Perfect. All right. All right, next is self-care. I'm actually gonna grab my pen so I don't forget to mark those off. Next is self-care for $35. See if I've got that exactly. Yep, I can do that. All right, so that'll be a 20. I'll do a 20 and then 3 5s for that. Perfect. And then I'm going to flip back to family fun, and I need to grab $55 from family fun. And I do not have that. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going I'm gonna stack that right here, and then I'm gonna make room for my spent envelope here. So I do not have $55 for this family fund, but I do have $60. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take $60. I'm going to put that into my spent envelope here, and then I'm going to search until I find a 5 to give back to that envelope, and then I'm just going to set that aside, bring this back here, and put that back into my family fund envelope. That way I am accounting for that $55 transaction, but I'm not putting more than I need to from my sinking fund. So that takes care of family fun. And then shop small, I need to pull $60 from 20, 40, 60, perfect. That takes care of that transaction. And then this was our clothing. I feel like stuff goes on sale the day after Christmas, so I grabbed a few things that I had been wanting. So clothing, I need 85. So let's see if I've got 20, 40, 60, 80. I do. Sweet. Just make sure that's right here. 20, 40, 60, 80. Perfect. All right. Ooh, cat just went flying. All right, we're back. All right, so that takes care of all of the transactions. So I'm going to set that aside for a second just so I can close out this binder. All right, so it is time to do the big count now. So I am going to go ahead and set aside my wallet since I do not need that anymore. And all I need here, I'm going to need my 2 trackers. And then I'm going to need to go ahead and add all of these transactions up. These are all of my card transactions that I made during December. So I'm going to need to add these all up so I know how much I expect to have in my spent envelope stack here. So let me go ahead and do that off camera, and then I'll come back and tell you what I have. All right, guys, so I added it up, and I am expecting when I make this count to have $4,600 in here, which is about over 2x what I normally have in terms of my credit card balance. My credit card balance, I think, usually runs about $2,000, but keep in mind that there are some big transactions in here. So there are, I'm going to start organizing this pile as I talk through this, but there's Christmas in here, which is big in and of itself. There is my insurance premium, which is paid biannually. So insurance premium for our auto insurance, which is a big one. And then we also had some annual memberships come due this month as well. So we had our annual membership to the zoo, our annual membership to the aquarium, because we take the kids there fairly often. And so that's in this as well. So this is a big credit card balance that I currently have. And so I have a lot of cash in here to reconcile for that. So I am going to go ahead, and the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to set these trackers aside. And the first thing I'm going to do is go ahead and give this cash a little bit of an organization here, get some organization to this. So I am going to need these placeholders, and I'll explain how to reconcile placeholders here in a second. But the first thing I'm going to do is go ahead and organize the cash that I have into piles. All right, guys, so now that I've got the cash organized into piles, I'm going to go ahead and stack this all up so we can give it a big count. And I'm going to move my cash tray into frame here because I'm going to stack this in piles of $1,000. All right, I'm not sure if anything shifted there, but I think we've got everything in place now with the cash tray in. Okay, so I am expecting to have $4,600 in this stack combined. I'm gonna go ahead and make piles of $1,000. So I need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So so I'm gonna start with that, and I'm just gonna place a $1,000 placeholder. Again, I'll talk through placeholders and how they work in this process in a second, but I've got a $1,000 placeholder, and then I've got two $500 placeholders, so that makes up $2,000 of what is in my spent envelope. And then I'm just gonna go ahead and start counting and making piles of $1,000. So 100, 200, 300, 400, 500, 600, 700, 800, 50, 900, 50, 1,000. 50, 100, 50, 200, 50, 300, 50, 400, 20, 40, 60, 80, 500, 20, 40, 60, 80, 600, 20, 40, 60, 80, 700, 20, 40, 60, 80, 800, 20, 40, 60, 80, 900, 20, 40, 60, 80, 1,000. All right, and then I should have 600 here. 20, 40, 60, 80, 100, 20, 40, 60, 80, 200, 20, 40, 60, 70, 80, 90, 300, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 400. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 65, 70, 75, 80, 85, 90, 95, 500, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55, 60, 65, 70, 75, 80, 85, 90, 95, 600. So that is exactly what I was expecting. Now let's talk about my current credit card balance. So I did take a look before I did this unstuffing, and my current credit card balance is $4,477.68. And despite having a gajillion card transactions this month, everything was actually on my credit card. Nothing was on my debit card. So I didn't dip into my debit card buffer at all. That entire balance is on my credit card. So you'll notice that I do have over a $100 difference between what I have in my spent envelope and my credit card balance. And that is because every single transaction that I have on my card, I round up to the nearest $5. I do not like dealing with ones, and I don't like reconciling with ones or carrying them in my sinking fund envelopes. And so I always round up my credit card transaction to the nearest $5 increment. That way I know when I'm moving the cash from my variable expense envelopes or my sinking fund envelopes that I am more than covering what I will need to pay off my credit card bill. Okay, so now let's talk placeholders. So when I was unstuffing this month, there were a couple of times that I unstuffed placeholders. And the reason I did that is because I had transactions that totaled more than what the placeholder was. So a good example of that, I think 2 of these placeholders came from Christmas, because I had more than, I think I took $1,500 of placeholders. So one of the $1,000 placeholders, and then one of the $500 placeholders came from Christmas, and then the other $500 placeholder came from insurance. So I've got $2,000 in placeholders. These placeholders represent money that is in the bank tied to those categories. So because I have spent $1,500 of my Christmas money and $500 of my insurance money, I am okay using the money that is sitting in the bank to pay off my credit card with the dollars that are in the bank, because those dollars were already tied to these placeholders. So they were already sitting in the bank, and they were sitting there allocated for those purchases that I made. So when I take all of this cash, the cash total that I've got here is $2,600. So I will go ahead and put this in the bank, and then I will pay off my full credit card balance of $4,477.68. And that means that I will be spending my placeholder money that's sitting in the bank, and that's perfectly fine. That's exactly what we want to do within the cash stuffing system. That's exactly the purpose of those placeholder dollar bills. And so it's okay that I don't have all of that $4,600 in cash, because I do have that $4,600 accounted for between the cash that I'm depositing and the cash that's already sitting in the bank tied to these placeholders. So I'm going to go ahead and deposit this cash into the bank, and then I will pay off my full credit card balance. Again, I'm creating a little bit of a buffer for myself because the amount that I unstuffed is a little bit more than my credit card balance, but I will go ahead and do a big reconciliation at the end of the year, probably sometime in January, and then I will be able to take kind of that buffer that I've created over the course of the year from unstuffing and depositing more in my spent envelope than my total credit card bill, and I'll be able to actually stuff that difference as a cash stuffing, as a bonus cash stuffing. So I will go ahead and do that sometime in January, but that is it for this unstuffing. So I hope this method is helpful for you. I know using cards is super important. I certainly need the flexibility to use cards for convenience, and just because of the way that I shop, I do a lot online. I've got 3 kids and I have to have cards as a payment method to function, for our household to function. And this is the best way that I have found that enables me to use the cash stuffing method and everything that is so helpful to me about visualizing my money in cash, while also leveraging the convenience of credit card purchases. And so by unstuffing and reconciling weekly, I know that I'm staying on top of my credit cards and making sure that I've got a handle on all of those transactions that I make. I know a lot of you have started the spent envelope method, so if you have, please let me know how it's going for you. I would love to hear how your journeys have been with it. But as always, I just want to say thank you so much for watching this video, for engaging on my channel, and for supporting my shop. I truly, truly appreciate you all so much. I hope that you are going to have a wonderful new year. And as always, I wish you a simple budget, a calm mind, and a happy life. Thanks for watching.